The moment Katie Logan placed the sealed DNA report on the table, she knew there was no way to take back what was about to happen. Dylan stood across from her, confused and defensive. She had been trying for weeks to keep her personal life separate from the chaos surrounding the Spencer and Forrester families. But Katie had been watching her closely, and it wasn't because of Dylan's growing connection with Will. Something about Dylan felt strangely familiar. It was the little things. The way she smiled when she was uncomfortable. The way she tilted her head when she was trying to understand something. Even the expressions on her face sometimes reminded Katie of someone she had known many years ago. At first, Katie told herself it was nothing. Then she started remembering details about Dylan's childhood. Certain dates. Certain places. And most importantly, the mystery surrounding Dylan's mother. That was when Katie stopped trusting coincidence. Now the DNA report was sitting between them. Will Spencer stood beside Dylan, already frustrated by the secrecy. Bill Spencer watched from near the window, his expression hardening as he realized Katie wasn't simply asking them to sit down for an ordinary family conversation. "Mom, what is this?" Will asked. "You said it was important." Katie looked at him, then at Dylan. "It is." Dylan crossed her arms. "Then tell me why I'm here." Katie slowly touched the envelope. "Because I found something I couldn't ignore." Dylan's eyes narrowed. "What kind of something?" Katie hesitated. "A DNA report." The room went silent. Will immediately looked at Dylan. Bill's posture changed. Dylan stared at Katie as if she had just crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. "You tested me." Katie swallowed. "I had a comparison done." "You had no right." "I know," Katie admitted. "And if I had been wrong, I would have apologized and destroyed the report. But I couldn't ignore what I was seeing." Will stepped closer to Dylan. "Mom, whatever you think you've discovered, this isn't okay." Katie looked at him sadly. "I wish you were right." Dylan's anger slowly gave way to fear. "What does it say?" Katie opened the envelope. Her hands were trembling. The laboratory confirmed a biological family connection. Will frowned. "To who?" Katie looked directly at Dylan. "The Spencer family." Dylan's face went pale. "No." Bill stepped forward and took the report. His eyes moved across the page. Then he stopped. For several seconds, the most powerful man in the room couldn't say a word. Will looked at him. "Dad?" Bill slowly raised his eyes. "This can't be right." Katie answered quietly. "I had it checked." Dylan grabbed the report from Bill. Her eyes raced across the page. Then she saw the conclusion. Her breathing stopped. "Bill Spencer is my biological father." Nobody moved. Will stared at Dylan. Dylan stared back. Bill looked as though someone had taken the ground from beneath him. "I didn't know," he finally said. Dylan's eyes filled with tears. "You knew my mother?" Bill nodded slowly. "I remember her." That answer hurt more than anything else. Dylan's voice broke. "My entire life, she refused to tell me who my father was." Bill looked shaken. "She never told me about you." Dylan laughed bitterly through her tears. "Of course she didn't." Will stepped forward. "Dylan." She turned toward him. And then the real horror hit both of them. If Bill Spencer was Dylan's father, then Will wasn't simply the man she had fallen for. He was her half-brother. Will's face changed instantly. "No." Dylan covered her mouth. "No, no, no." Neither of them could process it. Every conversation. Every moment of attraction. Every secret feeling. Everything they thought might happen between them suddenly had an entirely different meaning. Will stepped backward. How did nobody know? Katie closed her eyes. That is what we need to find out. Dylan shook her head. I can't stay here. She turned toward the door. Will instinctively moved after her, but Bill stopped him. Give her space. Will turned angrily. She just found out you're her father. Bill's voice dropped. And you just found out she's your sister. The words destroyed the room all over again. Dylan rushed out. Will remained frozen. Bill stared at the DNA report. But Katie noticed something he hadn't. There was another page attached to the laboratory results. A page she hadn't fully examined. She pulled it closer. Her expression suddenly changed. Bill. He looked at her. What? Katie stared at the additional information. I think the first secret isn't the only secret. Bill stepped toward her. What are you talking about? Katie slowly turned the page. There is another biological connection in this report. Bill's expression tightened. To whom? Katie looked toward the doorway where Dylan had disappeared. I don't know yet. And for the first time, Katie wondered whether Dylan's mother had been hiding far more than the identity of her daughter's father. Katie couldn't stop staring at the second page. The first DNA result had already changed everything. Dylan was Bill Spencer's daughter, and that meant Will Spencer was her half-brother. But now the laboratory had identified another biological connection, one that appeared to lead directly into the Logan family. Bill noticed the fear in Katie's eyes. What does it say? Katie didn't answer immediately. She read the information again, hoping she had misunderstood it. She hadn't. There's a maternal connection, she finally said. Bill frowned. Dylan's mother. Yes. What's the connection? Katie looked toward Bill. That's what I'm trying to understand. Before either of them could say more, the door opened. Liam and Wyatt walked into the room. They had heard enough to know something extraordinary had happened, but neither was prepared for the tension waiting inside. Wyatt looked at Bill. Dad, what's going on? Bill handed him the first report. Wyatt read it. His eyebrows rose. So it's true. Bill nodded. Dylan is my daughter. Liam slowly exhaled. Wow. Bill shot him a look. That's all you've got? Liam immediately shook his head. No. I'm just trying to understand it. Wyatt looked toward Katie. Then what's the second report? Katie hesitated. I don't have the complete answer yet. Bill's patience was disappearing. Katie, don't hold anything back. She placed the second page on the table. The laboratory found a close biological relationship between Dylan's maternal markers and someone connected to the Logan family. Liam stared at her. Someone in our family. Katie nodded. Wyatt looked confused. Who? Katie's voice became quieter. I don't know. Bill immediately picked up the phone. I'm ordering a complete independent analysis. Katie stopped him. Bill, we should be careful. Careful. Bill snapped. My daughter has spent her entire life not knowing who her father was. If someone knew and kept that information from me, I want to know why. Katie understood his anger. But something else was bothering her. Dylan's mother hadn't simply disappeared from Bill's life. According to the records Katie had found, there had been an attempt to contact Spencer Publications years ago. A letter. A letter that never reached Bill. Katie pulled out an old file. This might explain something. Bill looked at it. Where did you get that? From the company archives. Bill opened the file. Inside was a photocopy of a damaged envelope. The handwriting was faded, but the name was still readable. His name. Bill Spencer. His face hardened. She sent this to me. Katie nodded. Apparently. The original isn't there. Bill's jaw tightened. Who received it? We don't know. He looked at her. Then find out. Meanwhile, Dylan had locked herself inside a quiet room at Forrester Creations. She sat alone, staring at her phone without seeing anything on the screen. She had wanted answers about her past for years. Now she had them. And she almost wished she didn't. The door opened. Electra stepped inside. Dylan immediately wiped her face. Go away. Electra stopped. I can. Dylan looked at her. Then why aren't you? Because you look like you need someone. Dylan gave a bitter laugh. You don't even like me. Electra sat down across from her. I didn't like what I thought was happening between you and Will. Dylan looked away. I loved him. Electra went silent. Dylan's voice cracked. I thought maybe he loved me too. Electra didn't know what to say. Then Dylan finally looked at her. He's my brother. Electra froze. What? Bill Spencer is my father. The anger Electra had carried for weeks vanished. She understood immediately. Dylan wasn't her rival anymore. She was simply someone whose entire world had collapsed. You didn't know, Electra whispered. Dylan shook her head. Everybody keeps saying that. But knowing I didn't know doesn't make it disappear. Electra reached for her hand. You don't have to figure everything out tonight. Dylan's eyes filled with tears. I don't know where I belong anymore. Electra squeezed her hand. Then don't decide tonight. Across town, Bill's investigation was already producing results. His investigator had found the employee who handled the correspondence department during the year Dylan's mother allegedly sent the letter. The employee had left Spencer Publications years ago. But there was something strange in his file. A confidential payment. A large payment. Made shortly after the letter disappeared. Bill stared at the document. Who paid him? The investigator hesitated. We're still tracing it. Bill's voice became cold. Trace it faster. Katie watched him carefully. Bill, if someone deliberately kept that letter from you, this wasn't just a family secret. Bill looked at her. What was it? A decision. The possibility made both of them uncomfortable. Someone may have decided that Bill Spencer should never know Dylan existed. And if that was true, there was only one question left. Who had been afraid of what would happen if Bill found his daughter? But Katie still hadn't told Bill the most disturbing part of the second DNA report. She had finally received the expanded analysis. And the name connected to Dylan's maternal side was no longer missing. It was right there on the page. Katie stared at it in disbelief. Then her hand began to shake. Because the name wasn't merely connected to the Logan family. It was Katie's own. She looked toward Bill. We need to talk. Bill turned. What now? Katie held up the report. I think I know who Dylan's mother was related to. Bill waited. Katie's eyes filled with tears. Me. Katie's voice barely escaped her lips. Me. Bill stared at her. For a moment, neither of them understood what the words meant. Then Katie placed the expanded DNA report on the table and pointed to the laboratory conclusion. The maternal markers weren't random. They indicated a close biological relationship between Dylan's mother and Katie Logan. Bill's expression hardened. You're saying Dylan's mother was related to you? Katie nodded slowly. According to this test, she was my half-sister. Bill looked at the report again. That makes no sense. I know. Katie's mind was already racing through memories from her childhood. There had always been gaps in the Logan family history. Stories that were never fully explained. Conversations between Beth and the girls that stopped whenever the children entered the room. Katie had always assumed those silences were ordinary family secrets. Now she wasn't so sure. If this is true, Katie whispered, then my mother may have known there was another daughter. Bill looked at her. And you never knew? Katie shook her head. No. The door opened. Liam and Wyatt immediately noticed the expressions on their faces. Wyatt looked at Katie. What happened? Katie couldn't answer. Bill handed him the report. Wyatt read it once. Then again. His face changed. Dylan's mother was your half-sister? Katie nodded. Wyatt slowly looked toward Bill. So Dylan is connected to both families. Katie closed her eyes. Yes. The revelation was almost impossible to process. Dylan wasn't simply Bill Spencer's unexpected daughter. She could also be part of the Logan family by blood. And suddenly, the question of her childhood became even more complicated. Why had her mother kept her identity hidden? Why had she never told Bill? And why had someone intercepted the letter she apparently sent to Spencer Publications? Katie picked up her phone. I need to call Brooke. Within an hour, Brooke and Donna arrived. Brooke walked into the room already demanding answers. Katie, you said this couldn't wait. Katie handed her the report. Brooke read it. Her expression went blank. No. Donna stepped closer. What? Brooke handed her the paper. Donna read it and slowly looked up. This can't be right. I said the same thing, Katie replied. That's why I want another test. Brooke nodded immediately. Not one. Several. Bill agreed. Independent laboratories. Katie looked at him. And we test everyone. Bill nodded. I want the truth. Across town, Dylan was still struggling to accept the first truth. She sat quietly while Electra remained beside her. After several minutes, Dylan finally spoke. I don't want to go back there. To Spencer Publications. To any of it. Electra looked at her. You don't have to. Dylan shook her head. You don't understand. Every time I look at Bill now, I see the father I never had. Every time I look at Will, I see the person I thought I could love. Her voice broke. And now I'm supposed to call him my brother. Electra didn't try to offer an easy answer. Then don't force yourself to understand it tonight. Dylan looked at her. What if I leave Los Angeles? Then leave because you want a fresh start. Not because you're running from something you didn't do. Dylan looked down. For the first time since the revelation, she felt someone was treating her like a person instead of a scandal. Meanwhile, Will had been struggling with his own emotions. He sat alone, replaying everything that had happened. His memories of Dylan were suddenly painful. But beneath the shock was another feeling. He knew Dylan hadn't deceived him. She hadn't known. Neither had he. When he finally found her, he stayed several feet away. I won't come closer unless you want me to. Dylan looked at him. You shouldn't be here. I know. Silence followed. Will swallowed. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Dylan shook her head. You didn't do anything. I still hurt you. So did I. Will looked confused. Dylan's eyes filled with tears. We both believed something that wasn't true. Will nodded. But we're still family. Dylan looked away. I don't know how to be your sister. You don't have to know yet. He paused. We can figure it out. Dylan finally looked at him. What if everything changes? It already has. She almost smiled through her tears. That wasn't very comforting. I know. For the first time, the tension between them eased slightly. They weren't trying to erase the past. They were trying to understand it. Then we'll notice something. What happened to the other DNA report? Dylan frowned. What other report? Will's expression changed. The one Mom was holding. Dylan suddenly realized that Katie had been hiding something. And that meant the Spencer revelation wasn't the only secret. Back at Spencer Publications, Katie received a call. The independent laboratory had completed its preliminary review. She listened silently. Then her face drained of color. Bill immediately stood. What? Katie ended the call. The second test confirms the first. Bill exhaled. Dylan is my daughter. Yes. And her mother was your half-sister. Katie nodded. Bill stared at her. Then we have to find out who she was. Katie's eyes filled with tears. I think I already know where to start. She opened an old Logan family file. Inside was a photograph of Beth from decades earlier. Standing beside her was a young woman Katie had never seen before. Katie turned the photograph over. There was a handwritten name on the back. Her hand began to shake. That's her. Bill stepped closer. Who? Katie looked at him. Dylan's mother. Then she noticed something else written beneath the name. A date. And a location. A hospital. Katie suddenly remembered an old story her mother had once told her about a baby who had disappeared from the family after a difficult period in Beth's life. She had never believed the story mattered. Now it could explain everything. But before Katie could say another word, Bill's investigator called again. This time, his voice was urgent. They had found the person who intercepted the letter. And that person was still alive. Bill listened. His expression became darker with every second. Where is he? The investigator gave him an address. Bill hung up. Katie immediately understood. You found him. Bill nodded. And according to the investigator, he isn't the only person who knows what happened. Katie looked toward the old photograph. Then this family's secret has been waiting decades to come out. Bill picked up his coat. And we're about to find out why. Bill and Katie arrived at the address just before sunset. The building looked nothing like the kind of place where a secret capable of destroying two powerful families would be hiding. It was an old office tucked away on a quiet street, with faded windows and a locked front door. Bill's investigator was waiting outside. He's inside, he said. Bill looked at Katie. You don't have to come in. Katie shook her head. Yes, I do. This wasn't only about Dylan anymore. It was about her family. Her mother. And a woman Katie had never known existed. They entered together. An older man was sitting behind a desk. The moment he saw Bill, the color disappeared from his face. You're Bill Spencer. You know exactly who I am. The man looked toward Katie. And you're a Logan. Katie stepped forward. You handled a letter addressed to Bill Spencer years ago. The man's silence answered the question. Bill's voice became colder. Who told you to intercept it? The man looked down. I was paid. By whom? I don't know. Bill slammed a hand against the desk. Don't lie to me. The man flinched. I didn't know what was in the letter. But you knew it was important. Yes. Katie stepped closer. What happened to the woman who sent it? The man hesitated. She came to Los Angeles because she wanted to tell Bill about the child. Katie's heart stopped. Dylan. He nodded. She was scared. She said she had waited too long. Bill's expression changed. Why didn't she contact me directly? She tried. Then why didn't she? The man finally looked at him. Because someone convinced her that you would take the child away. Bill stared at him. Who? The man shook his head. I never met that person face to face. Katie immediately understood. Someone used you to keep Bill from knowing about Dylan. Yes. Bill leaned closer. Who paid you? The man reached into an old drawer and pulled out a small envelope. I kept this because I knew someday someone would come looking. Inside was an old photograph. Dylan's mother stood beside another woman. Katie took the photograph. Her hands began to tremble. The woman beside Dylan's mother was Beth. Katie's mother. And suddenly the family history she thought she understood began falling apart. The older man spoke quietly. Your mother knew about the child. Katie looked up. You're saying my mother knew Dylan existed? She knew there was a baby. Bill stared at Katie. Katie could barely breathe. Why didn't she tell us? The man shook his head. I don't know. But Katie knew there was only one way to find out. Back at the Spencer mansion, Dylan was waiting. When Katie entered, Dylan immediately stood. What did you find? Katie looked at her. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Then she walked forward and placed the photograph in Dylan's hands. Dylan stared at it. My mother. Katie nodded. And my mother. Dylan looked up. What does that mean? Katie's eyes filled with tears. It means our families were connected long before any of us knew. Bill stepped forward. And someone spent years making sure we never found out. Dylan looked at him. Why? Bill had no answer. That was the part that frightened him most. Dylan slowly looked at the photograph again. My mother always told me there were people who couldn't be trusted. Katie whispered, maybe she was trying to protect you. From what? Nobody answered. Then Bill's phone rang. His investigator had discovered one final piece of information. The payment made to the employee had come from an account belonging to a private intermediary. And that intermediary had been connected to a person from the Logan family's past. The trail was old, but it wasn't dead. Someone had deliberately separated Dylan from Bill. Someone had kept her mother's letter hidden. And someone had allowed Will and Dylan to grow close without either of them knowing the truth. Dylan closed her eyes. So all these years, someone knew. Katie reached for her hand. Maybe. Dylan looked at her. Then I want the truth. Bill nodded. You'll get it. Dylan studied him. You keep saying that like you're my father. Bill's expression softened. I am your father. But I know that doesn't make me your family overnight. Dylan looked down. I don't know what to call you. You don't have to call me anything. For the first time, Dylan's expression softened. Will entered quietly. He stopped when he saw Dylan. Neither of them spoke immediately. Then Will said, I heard you found something. Dylan nodded. A lot. Will looked at the photograph. So this goes deeper than Bill? Katie answered. Much deeper. Will looked at Dylan. I know things are different now. Dylan gave him a small smile. They have to be. But I don't want you to disappear from our lives. Dylan swallowed. I don't know if I can stay. You don't have to decide tonight. Dylan looked around the room. For the first time, she didn't see strangers. She saw people whose lives were now connected to hers. Complicated. Painful. Unexpected. but real. Then Katie's phone buzzed. She read the message and froze. Bill noticed immediately. "What is it?" Katie slowly raised her eyes. "The investigator found another document." "What document?" Katie's voice dropped. "Your mother's original letter, Dylan." Dylan stepped forward. "Where is it?" Katie stared at the screen. "It was never destroyed." Bill's face hardened. "Then where has it been?" Katie looked at him. "Someone has been keeping it all these years." Dylan's heart began pounding. "Who?" Katie didn't answer. Because the name on the message belonged to someone the family believed had nothing to do with the secret. Someone still close enough to know everything. And with that discovery, the mystery surrounding Dylan's birth was no longer just an old family tragedy. It had become a present-day threat. The DNA tests had revealed the truth. The hidden letter had revealed the past. But the person who buried that truth was still out there. And now that Dylan finally knew who she was, that person had every reason to be afraid.